Well, good afternoon, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the live trading session with myself, Giles Cockton and Paul Sanders. Good to see you, everybody.
Giles, happy
Good.
new week.
Back to your normal background, back to Philly.
I
Safe
am.
and sound.
I am safe and sound, all back home. So,
Lovely. Good.
new week. How was your weekend?
Yeah, it was very nice actually. Had just did a few odd jobs on the weekend, and Sunday night I went out with my wife to a tribute band with a friend, which was a strange thing for a work night.
So your wife is feeling better then?
Well, this was the great conundrum, right? Because she was thinking, if I go out to the tribute band, I definitely can't be sick for work tomorrow.
Right.
So she went out. She started. She sat down after a bit of time because she said, "Actually, I've got to pace myself." So I think she got through the evening and realized, actually, I'm not quite well.
Yeah.
But because she went out to the concert, she said, in conscience, I can't not go to work.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah,
That's
so
that.
the conundrum she faced this morning, getting out of bed.
It's good too that you didn't get sick. That's great.
So far, so good.
Dodged it.
Right, should we get on? I'm watching the mini fall and I'm thinking, let's get onto this. So the bottom line, we had the German elections over the weekend, and the far right AfD party came second, but the coalition seems to be set up to be in place with the Christian Democrat Party. So that's broadly speaking, that's sort of positive for risk. The euro was up earlier in the session. It has faded a little bit now with a bit of dollar strength. But sentiment, if you look at equity markets around the world, it's kind of a little bit of a bounce from Friday. But if you look at volatility, it's still very elevated compared to the recent range. So this looks a bit like a dead cat bounce in terms of the moves. We'll keep an eye on it, but at the moment, I'm not trusting this as a V-shaped bounce or a quick bounce up, but we'll be led by the price action and what happens with the order flow. So that's kind of my initial reaction. If you look at this is kind of a big drop, and you'd expect sellers on any retracement. And with volatility remaining elevated, we'll probably keep our eyes on volatility to give us a sense of where we're at. If you look at the S&P 500 and just sort of zoom out a little bit, you can see we've moved into a pretty heavy support area around this 6,000 region on this chart. So we are in a pretty decent support area. So it could form a support there, and that could form a Harami inside bar. But any retracements up to that broken trend line that we have here, let's just put that back into place. We saw on Friday with our session, initially price sat around the nose of that candlestick, and then the second half of the US session, it just broke through. So that was significant. We've fallen into that next major support, but keep an eye for sellers if we have a retracement back up to that broken trend line. So definitely I'd look out for sellers around this area, which is about the 60.80 on the daily chart. It's a different price for the futures chart, but that gives us an indication of what to look for. And we're just pulling off the daily pivot point for now. Looking across other markets, gold, silver, copper, gold's continuing its march higher. WTI Brent crude, now that fell on the risk-off sentiment with equity markets. So the prospect of less demand, slowing global growth, all that weakness we saw in the US equity markets. And notice, it was really the Walmart earnings, wasn't it, that prompted this, with that big miss in Walmart earnings. And then there's just general concern that the US consumers is struggling a little bit. So I was looking into those Walmart earnings, and I did notice that the chief financial officer was saying that they still see the US consumer having plenty of disposable income and definitely still looking for value. So I know the future guidance was weak, but the CFO wasn't sort of saying that he saw a weakness in the value customers who are typically going for Walmart. And I did notice that Walmart is trying to change its strategy a little bit from moving away from not only discount retailers, but also looking for sort of people who are prepared to spend a bit higher end. So I think there's a little bit more to that Walmart story, but I think that's what's weighing on sentiment for now. There's Russia-Ukraine peace talks bobbling in the background. If that does happen, then that's positive for global risk. So we've just got to keep that in mind. Apart from that, we've got kind of like dollar weakness continuing its way lower. And if you look at the dollar weakness we've had since mid-Feb, really what that's been on is the fact that Trump's tariffs are going to be not so much US protectionism as a US negotiating tool. So that means that some investors are seeing the tariffs as temporary measures. So when he talks about 25% this, 20% that, it's a temporary measure to get a better deal with the US that will ultimately be positive for global growth. So that's why, dollar strength hasn't massively returned. Now, which way this goes with Trump, that really is anyone's move, and we don't know exactly what he's going to do. I'm not even sure he'll know exactly himself. So we'll have to see. But at the moment, that dollar weakness is there. I know ING, for instance, are saying, well, be careful of chasing this US dollar any lower. So it's reaching, maybe a little bit of a tick up. We got second reading of the US GDP this week, US PCE. And the other thing that's standing out is the Nvidia earnings that are coming on Wednesday. So there'll be a lot of focus on Nvidia earnings. Could see a little bit of markets just holding pattern until then. So we might just see markets, particularly in the equity markets, just sort of moving sideways until Nvidia gives a little closer direction. So when it comes to the sentiment, I'd say it's really two-way. I would literally expect, if Zelensky steps down, it depends why he steps down, Anthony. So if he steps down because Ukraine has joined NATO, and that's the reason for him stepping down, it would probably be positive for sentiment because it should bring stability, depending on how Russia react to that. If Russia just suck it up, then that will be very good for security. But I think it's unlikely they just step down for that reason. I think that was the reason he said he would step down. It was that and some other reason, but both of them would be very good reasons to step down if he does. So that's really what's going on. And in terms of the rhythm, we're seeing sort of sideways movement. The delta on the session is negative. So negative delta. We obviously had big falls on Friday, and that sort of negative sentiment continued all of the session. The mood for today is we're sideways, just moving flat across the chart, and the big levels to look for is there's a lot of sellers here currently trapped at that 60.58, and we've got some buyers potentially trapped here around that 60.54. So we've got two-way price action, and I would be looking at two-way price action. With the weekly value areas, we got some, let's just check. Yeah, I lost all my value areas, so I've had to draw them in. We've got some pretty big support sitting current prices and 60.40 and down at 60.20. Just going to put in the next resistance area on the weekly chart. Yeah, that's quite a big, the point of control from a couple of weeks ago. That's a big area. So if we do manage to move higher, this would be a great area to look for sellers around just underneath that 6100 region. Just trying to think. Important areas on the 15-minute chart. Buyers up here, currently trapped, and that's giving a pressure to the downside. Apart from that, then you've got sellers across the 60-63 region, but only as far into that sort of previous value area. So, really wanting to look for something clear breaking out of this little range. Really, we're in this kind of range 60-67 to 60-42 ish. and you can see we're opening up inside Friday's value. And you look at the big picture of it, you can see we're in that deep drop and we're in a daily pivot point. So we're kind of in an area where if we do see sort of sellers continuing to build up, and if we see a breakdown through this region here, and we start to see these buyers getting trapped at the sort of 60-50 and that region, 60-50 and this area here. So I think the 60-50 would be an important area. If we can get underneath that first standard deviation, then potentially there's a run down to 60-34 on. Other than that, I think we should just be led by the order flow, because there's so many different bits and bobs going on today. You could see it. You could see the narrative latching on to anything. But Nvidia earnings on Wednesday should be the next major driver, and then obviously you've got PCE, the Fed's preferred measure of inflation, on Friday. So it should be a more influential second half of the week. That's my take on it. I feel it's one of those days. It's a bit. I feel we're still in the afterglow of Friday, really. What are you making of today, Paul? How are you looking at things, and as we come to the session? I mean, nice to have your view on it as well. I'm feeling like a kind of there's sort of nothing going on day, but there could you know what I mean? It's one of those tricky days.
No, I think that's it. It feels like a range day, to be honest. Which unless it completely rejects the fall from Friday, and we want to, hey Konstantinos, rejects the fall from Friday and wants to just pop higher.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think we could just kind of range here for a bit. We'll see. Yeah, it's one of those days too, you come off a day where, particularly the later half of that session, it was just one-way action. So maybe an easier sort of trading day, and then you get into this and it's like, okay, think twice about the ranges. Let something get established, or play the ranges, but know that you might get chopped around. So
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, so most amount of sellers trapping the most amount of buyers. That's a key kind of indicator, isn't it? Confirm you with that selling pressure. Delta is negative on the day. It's negative on the session and negative on the day. Now, big area. Where's the next lot of? Okay, that continuous delta falling lower. The most amounts of sellers have now come in. Probably gonna have a run down to that 60, 34, 32 level.
Yeah, to that low. Looks like we wanna
really test that from the get-go.
Yep.
That's heading down there. Look at volatility continue to pick up. So everything's pointing towards lower prices. Right, here you got the 1 minute. And you got those buyers trapped here on the 1. No, I'll keep on to that 15. So I'll be looking at that to see if we get a breakdown. And if we get a breakdown, I'll go with the break as long as I have volume, and I'll go with that on the like a breakout strategy. Right, so I'll see how things go. Well done. Everyone's on fire today. Everyone's just been taking active early shorting. Great.
Yeah, that's great. Are you going to ignore the 15 here? Yeah. What do you think about that, Giles?
Well, I'm not. Yeah, I just spoke to Najera about that, so I'm not going to ignore it. I'm going to take it if I get it here.
Okay.
That 15 is fine. But that's quite a long way up. And this 15 down here, it's just such small volume.
Yeah.
Doable, but it's just you've got to have such a large stop, so it's just less attractive.
Yeah.
And I think that was what Anthony probably took that 2.5, that 15 trapped.
Oh, I see.
Oh, there we go. And then she's gone. She's gone there. Look at that. Straight into that area.
Pressure in equity space since the opening bell here. I mean, S&P now just up about 5 points or so. Does appear to be a bit of helping hand to the dollar. Some cyclical currencies coming under a bit of pressure as well.
Okay, so if I get close underneath here on volume, I'm going with the sell. Yeah, I'm going with the sell. I have got volume.
Okay.
Okay, I'm out.
Nice, Giles. That's a good trade.
Yeah, that's nice.
Monday, 24th of February. The trades
That's
for
right.
the day.
Trades for the date. So we were breaking out of the opening range and took quick, just under 5 points on that opening range breakout down to the second standard deviation. Nice little move, quick, short, sharp run. But
Just want to be aware of. Do notice that Nikkei reporting that Japan builder
let me just turn the squawk off.
the Shimizu is hiring orders from non-Japanese companies in.
Okay, and just took that run down in the 5 minute.
Yep.
Then, as we carried on, we were looking for more opportunities to see some buyers getting trapped in line with the trend. And we had buyers getting trapped again at this region here at the 25 candle, just dropping down to the micros on that because of the size of the trade. And just as it moved back against me, just took it off the table. And then we were moving back in line with the direction we wanted to go in. Just took a short move and then took a second short move as we broke out of that little consolidation. So we took 2 moves lower, had a break-even trade, and then the final trade of the day was just a losing trade, trying to go for a breakout of these 5 minute candles, going back the other way, seeing some sellers, just seeing them getting trapped up here, and just seeing if we could, get on board with that opportunity. So just trying to look if we can go back this way. So had the volume on the 1 minute and then had another bit of volume building. Let me show you on the standard lot, it's easier. So that strong volume candle had a pullback and then a second strong volume candle. And that volume just gave me confidence to go for it to the upside. Delta histogram slowly coming in here. So you see there, high volume, didn't quite get a break and close, but with a break and close on this candle, I thought, let's try it. Let's see if we can get a run. In the end, it didn't work out, just pulled back against me. So just taking that off as quickly as I could once it obviously wasn't going for a breakout. And that is the trades of the day.
All right, everybody. We will see you tomorrow.
Yep. Take care. See you, Paul. See everyone. See you,
Giles.
guys.
Take care.
Take care.